there we go. Well, welcome to The Line, gentlemen. This is a very interesting episode of The Line. We're here in Georgia. You can probably tell that because some of the perspiration that's coming down the side of my face. Me being a northern boy and all, this is a little different temperatures for me. But I'm here with Johnathan Strack of Strack Inc. and Aron Nick, who's been on the line before with Strack Inc. You guys have invited us down here to witness something that I would call nothing less than epic. And so I've introduced both of you, and we're gonna get into our normal routine here. But what is the name of this place here that we're sitting at right now that we're talking about?
Yeah, we're at the Strack training grounds.
Right.
And this is our effort to try and make things better and help grow great people. And
yeah,
this was born out of a conversation internally, like, all right, we're struggling in the industry. How are we going to go fix this?
Yeah.
Everybody's got the same complaints day after day. So let's go make effort to
do something about it instead of just complain about it.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you inviting us here to participate and to see this. We're going to talk about that a little bit here. But Johnathan, since this is your first time on the podcast, I'd just like to talk a little bit about, your name is on the equipment, it's on the shirt. What is some of your origin of how did you end up in this seat on this hill today? Where did it start?
Yeah, and I like to say a lot. It started at birth. Dad took me out at 2 years old, and I started running equipment. We were having a Mother's Day podcast internally, and my mom told the story about knocked our playset over with an excavator when I was 3 years old. I had a really, really cool childhood. At 4 or 5 years, probably 5, I'm sitting on a 245 excavator, sitting in a guy named Robert Weish's lap that was an operator with us over 30 years, digging in shot rock with a guy in the hole that taught me everything I know about, laying pipe. And yeah, I had the best childhood you could ask for. I got to shoot dynamite at 6 years old. That's
I don't know many people that have gotten to shoot dynamite at 6 years old.
They tell me
I'm a little jealous of your childhood, man.
Yeah. They tell you hit the button and get in the bucket because
hit the button and get in the bucket
because there was definitely fly rock, Yeah.
So, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, things were a little less precise, and it was different. We keep dynamite on the job in just a Connex. We called them dynamite boxes. It was just a hard metal box that kept an honest man out, But
wow.
That's changed a lot, But no, throughout high school and middle school, the way I say it, Dad started working for his dad at 10. I started working for my dad at 12.
Yeah.
And in the summers, I would come to work. Either guys would pick me up and take me to jobs with them in the morning.
Wow.
So we might leave where I lived, which is south of Atlanta, and go to north of Atlanta, 65, 70 miles away. I'd be gone all day. It was sun up, sun down. And just got to learn the craft and the trades and life from a lot of guys. Like your perspective's entirely different. I come from, the nuclear family, good household, good family, good income. And then, I'm on the job with guys talking about rent bills and, things that aren't normally talked about in my household.
Right.
And, you figure out when you first get on the job, they're going to treat you different because you're the owner's son, but nothing like some oppressive heat and some sweat equity. And after a month or two, they forget who you are. They're just really glad you're helping.
Yeah.
Even if you may not know exactly everything to do, just attitude and effort and be a sponge, and that was my childhood, was just, always feeling like just because of who I was, being Dad's son, I needed to go out there and prove myself.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be just given to you, and I learned that from Mom and from Dad.
Yeah. You have to earn it.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
For sure.
Went into college, ran some crews coming out of college. College is the one thing I never finished in life. I didn't graduate. It was probably my lowest point in my life, honestly. I got there,
Really?
wanted a challenge, didn't find a challenge. I would rather go to work. It's the one thing I've never finished in life, and that still bothers me. But, it's life.
Yeah.
We've got a company run full of high school graduates, and that's the great thing about our industry. Attitude and effort can take you as high as you want to fly in our industry, and that's not true for a lot of other industries. So that's one of our pitches.
You are not the first guy in the dirt world to say those exact words to me about attitude and effort. I think that's something that people don't realize how much that affects their trajectory in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I can ask this, what is your position at Strack?
I'm our CEO.
CEO. So you went from a shovel in the ground to a CEO, and I would just want to highlight this. I think in the trade world, in the trade industry, whether it's the dirt world, whether it's the skilled trades, whatever it is, it doesn't matter if your name is on the trucks or not. You can go from a shovel in the ground to the CEO. It's just, are you willing to work in that oppressive heat and show value to the team that you're working with?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where true leadership, I think, comes from is, well, where are you willing to put your hands? Where are you willing to put the work? And what are you willing to do?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to lead by example.
Absolutely.
It's the apprenticeship model. I mean, it's the best way to learn. So.
Well, and I think that's something, too, that, even from the founding of our country, I can remember reading about Washington and how he went out before the troops and went out in front of them to encourage them in the battle. And really, I believe sometimes, Monday through Friday and beyond, it's a battle. And as leaders, that's what we need to be doing. We need to show the people that we're there on the field with them and encouraging them to, and when you look around here, and I don't know if you guys can see on camera or not, but there are Strack soldiers all around this site. And they're here preparing for today in what we're doing. So you didn't finish college, come back to the business, and what is it that Johnathan loves the most about what he does?
For me, it's always been really two halves. It's you show up, work with like-minded people, chase a common goal together with folks that are going to give you their best effort every day and kind of meet all your values. But the other piece is you get to affect the lives of other people and make their life better all the while running the business. And, money's just a tool. It's all how you use it. And the minute you covet it, that's
the
downfall.
truth.
I mean, and it's really, it's a principles over profit mentality. Like, if you'll just trust people, do the right thing, somehow, some way, you do good, you get good in life.
Yeah.
Profits will come. We talk about it all the time in construction. Quality, safety, then worry about
it's the long game.
Then worry about the profit dollars. Yeah, and it's opposite of what the modern world is. We're a really long, slow burn industry, and it takes time. Like I don't care how bright you are. I mean, the old saying is, it takes 10,000 hours to master anything.
Yeah,
it's right. I mean, it's totally right.
I heard a comment the other day about, well, what do you want to build with? Do you want to build with pine or do you want to build with oak?
Yeah.
What furniture do you want to buy? Do you want to buy oak furniture? Do you want to buy pine furniture? And, pine grows fast and quick, but oak grows slow, but oak is strong. I mean, and it has the ability to withstand, a lot of stress, a lot of challenges, a lot of things like that, where pine is going to snap. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, Strack has been around for how many years?
This is our 76th year. 76
years. That's some oak, my friend.
Yep.
That is some oak. So with that, I think this is I didn't tell you this, but it just kind of came to me because I'm in this unique situation where I'm sitting with a CEO whose name is on the trucks, and we don't edit anything in this podcast. I didn't tell you that. So whatever you say, whatever comes out of your mouth, because we want it to be real and authentic. So if you want to edit it, do it up here. But this is a unique opportunity here where I have one of your team here on air with us. So Aron, can you tell me, how does Johnathan live out some of these things that he says? Because it's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to do it. And we're sitting here on, how many acres is this place we're sitting on?
8 acres.
8 acres of land.
Yep.
That I think is some ways that Strack is living out some of what I heard. But why don't you speak to that a little bit?
I mean, the family.
Yeah.
Like I've said before, we call ourselves work family. Other people call this the Strack Nation. You know, like
Strack Nation, I like that.
All of this is from their family and the families that what I really see and what I really believe that the family does, that they know that they affect over 3,000 people directly within this company.
Right.
They understand that, and they live that every day. And when you need something, you might not get exactly what you want right then, but you're going to get what you need.
Yeah.
And it might just be attention. It might just be somebody to talk to. Like, you can't put a scale on that. So
yeah,
that's the best example I can give of it.
Yeah, that's good. It's a unique situation where I'm actually able to check what it is that you're saying directly. And it even speaks to the fact that he felt free to answer that honestly. That's a testament to leadership. And I think that's something that those of us in the industry, that's what we need to be building. We need to be building that team mentality of being able to work together. I think as leaders in an organization, we need to be held accountable.
Yep.
You said something earlier, and can you share it with us? You talked about it. It shouldn't be, and you named a tool, a rake. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just share that with us for those who are listening.
Yeah. So, our view is, if you're going to run a business, your organizational structure shouldn't look like a rake. Like all the tines come into one handle where you're micromanaging, because at the end of the day, you're not trusting anybody to do anything.
Yeah.
And nobody can read your mind either.
Right.
You've got to be transparent about what you want, set good expectations, set a framework for how you want somebody to conduct themselves, and then take that key off your key ring, basically knight them, for lack of a better term. And
That's
say,
a pretty good term.
I trust you to go do this on behalf of the business. You may not do it exactly how I want it done, but we'll give you a lot of rope as long as you don't violate these values and ways we want you to act. And that's really through growth. That's what I've had to get comfortable with. Like we talked about off camera. Yeah, I never thought I'd be on podcasts or doing anything of this. I never thought we'd be doing marketing or anything. But
yeah,
you got to talk about who you are and how you want to act if you expect everybody to give you results that you want.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, I mean, and then somehow through growth, I figured out we had a lot of different people, a lot of different philosophies here. So somehow in a compacted time frame, you've got to get everybody up to whatever your standard is, or else you've got dysfunction.
Yeah.
So that means a lot of open, honest talk, exposing yourself, making yourself uncomfortable, and admitting and owning your failures, top to bottom.
Yeah.
That's kind of us. If you want to sum us up, we're glass half full as a culture. If you don't fit that, you don't stay here long.
Wow.
At the end of the day, I mean that's just is what it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Johnathan, I have to say, it's always the podcast that's off air that we have that is the best. But we talked about, those things and just talking about investment. One of the things that you had shared off air that I think is really important, if you're in an organization and you're a leader, or even as an organization, the importance of having hard conversations. Like having a real and honest conversation. We say that not because we want to be superficial and cover things and go the easy way, because I've learned throughout my life that there's nothing that's easy that I want to have. All the things that I want, that have value, they take work. They're difficult. Now, in the midst of it, some days I wake up and I'll say to my wife, I don't want to do this anymore. And some of those days have been recently.
Yep.
But the truth is, I've been around enough. The things that I value are the things that I've worked for. Can you speak a little bit to people who might be listening, whether they're in your position or whether they want to be in that position, or whether they're even in Aron's position, the importance of what it is to have a hard conversation with people.
Yeah, I mean, that's was probably one of our bigger failings. Dad and I talked about it coming out of the great financial crisis. It's really two halves of my life. There's everything before the great financial crisis, and there's everything after. And that was the hardest time in my life I've ever had. We had to lay off folks.
2008, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah. I mean, it really didn't get better for our industry, or I started seeing some light at the very end of 2012. So, I mean, it was 5 years of just brutal. We burnt all the family's equity up trying to keep it going. And, had to lay off folks that are like family that taught me. And it's a hard deal when you're like, look, my client didn't pay me.
Yeah.
I've got no work for you. I'm sorry. And we were really blessed that a lot of folks wanted to come back to work with us when things got better.
That is pretty cool.
Learned a lot, struggled a lot. And like you said, nothing good in life comes without some struggle. I mean, this place was a metaphor for it. I mean, we were like, all right, we're going to spend some money. We're going to build this training facility. We come out here, and we hit rock. Immediately.
It's behind. Yeah, it's behind me.
Yeah. We shot rock out here to build this thing.
There has been dynamite involved
for no profit, but it's a long range investment. We're fortunate. On top of that, City of Fairburn was gracious enough to let us use some of their land to do this.
Yeah.
And they've been great supporters in this. So, I got to give a little shout out to them.
Absolutely.
Without this couldn't happen. Yeah, they're
partners,
definitely
really.
partners in this.
Well, we can't do things like this if we don't do it together.
Yep.
I mean, that's the importance of team and working together as a team. I mean, Strack, if it was just your family, it wouldn't be what it is today.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I mean, it there's plenty of sayings for it, but it all comes back to trust. And you build a family on trust, you build a business on trust.
Yeah.
And every day you walk in life, the best way to conduct yourself, get up, try and have a smile on your face, treat people like you want to be treated.
Oh, come on.
And the whole do good, get good philosophy. I mean, it happens at life, it happens at work, and to do those things is hard. It's really hard, especially in business when, you've got a client that may not be the most knowledgeable, or just they've got some boss breathing down their neck for a profit dollar. And, our saying is we're not wired to step foot out of the truck and fight.
Yeah.
That's not us. That's how I go sell us. And I try and go sell us on best value. We're going to do what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it, for a fair price, on time. We're going to be good communicators, good or bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same principles you raise your kids on, you found a good marriage on. I mean,
It's the difference between weak leadership and true leadership.
Yep.
And I call it true leadership, but it's talking about strong leaders are truthful. Like, the interesting thing about the truth is, whether you decide to share it or not, it's going to come out one way or the other. It will be revealed.
Yeah, and that goes back to having a hard conversation.
It does.
One of the things I never really finished coming out of the recession, Dad and I figured out is we had to let folks go. You got to come up with some way to choose who's who, and everybody always wanted to know why. And sometimes you manage around your personalities rather than being truthful with them. And what we're going through training right now, everybody takes a personality profile, they take a DISC assessment. Some people don't know that they're acting this way or aggravating people. So it's better to, educate and have some conversations. And
they outright disagree.
Yeah.
They literally outright disagree. And as you start talking and answering questions with questions, you can see the change start to, well, yeah, but that's still not me.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
What about this other thing? Like, what if I rolled up on you and just told you how to do it? No, I don't like that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the importance of, and it's one of your values. I mean, listen, I've not been here all that long, but your values are plastered everywhere, which I think is important. You know, humble heart, open hands.
Better every day.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Mindful in everything. Humble heart, open hands. Everyone matters.
Yeah.
Now that's got to feel good.
Yep.
Now, a member of your team knows that stuff. There's no paperwork or teleprompter or anything. That's on his brain.
No,
Yeah.
the moment I heard it,
Yeah.
I had it instant.
Well, and that's the cool thing when you start promoting your values and things like that. It invites people who are like-minded to your team, and that actually saves a company money in the long run. You know, I mean, it's efficient, it's effective, because you don't waste time training people that don't align.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I mean, and it's easy to talk about. It's easy to remember when it's believable, and you know, it's always the stuff that's forced and fake that nobody can retain or act around. You know, I mean, that's
Exactly.
You know, in construction, our however you want to put it, you know, safety matters, safety first, whatever it is. Like, all right, well, let's go talk about why do we want to be safe? Well, you know, you're going to work hard your whole life. You got to have an end goal, and if you're partially disabled from what you've done, like, you can't go fulfill that. Like,
Exactly.
let's go talk about the human aspect. Yeah, there's safety metrics and all that stuff in our industry, but you know, you got to get back to the care for the common man and woman. You know, at the end of the day. I mean,
You got to get back to valuing people.
We're no better than anybody else.
Absolutely.
That's what you got to. If you want to be a great leader, you approach your organization that way. I mean, you are no better than anybody else, and you better own your mistakes before anybody else does.
Yeah.
You know.
I have a question for you, Johnathan. I know the answer to this question for Aron. I ask people this question because it just is a nice, easy question for what comes later. But I always ask people, what is a tool or a piece of gear that you can't live without, that you have to have? And for those that are listening, if you don't know this about Aron, it's a belt. He thinks it's important to keep his pants up, and I know that. So, I mean, I don't mean to speak for you, but that is true. That would be your one thing that you can't live without.
I know I'm wearing the Crafton Lore belt now, so.
Shout out to Crafton Lore.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. That's awesome.
I first thought boots, but then toilet paper. Toilet paper's mine. I mean,
That is a first.
whoever invented that, hey, props to them.
Really-
Greatest
really-
invention
So
ever.
I now understand where all the toilet paper went during COVID.
Yeah,
So
really uncomfortable
Strack
during
was
COVID.
stockpiling
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Oh no! Like, somehow, when we were having shortages of everything, we had a good stockpile at the shop, and mysteriously the TP started going somewhere. But
Yeah.
I'm not complaining about it. I don't need everybody funky rolling around.
Yeah.
But, hey, props
Yeah.
to them.
Wow. That is, I didn't see that coming. Toilet paper and not having people rolling around funky. That's that's a new one for the podcast.
I wouldn't have guessed that either.
You wouldn't have got, I know that, and you know him.
Yeah, I
so
know. I know.
that's, wow. Okay. Well,
This
we're
is-
definitely going to make that part of the trailer clip that we promote everywhere. So,
Yeah, coming from the guy that grew up in the wastewater business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was I had a good story during COVID that when my grandfather used to take me hunting, we'd go out behind the barn. He'd always he'd get 3 corn cobs. He'd get a red corn cob and 2 yellow ones. We'd go hunting. Every time we'd come back, I was like 6. Every time we'd come back, and he never had the corn cobs. So one day I asked him, Papa, how come you leave with 3 corn cobs and you never come back with them? He says, well, you got to wipe your butt with something. And I mean, they grew up in a much harder time than we did.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the way it was. So
Well, I mean, that segues into the importance, I think, of recognizing the world that we currently live in. We can get consumed with feeling like it's really bad. Times are really bad. They're really scary. You watch the news, you see the things that are going on, and it's like, I actually believe we live in a great time in history. I believe that opportunity is at a place that it's never been at before. And all of our joy, if we're not careful, it's going to be stolen by the fear of what might happen instead of stepping up to the line to do what needs to be done so that what can happen, so that the opportunity can be realized. And that's a big part about what we're here. Johnathan, this is Strack's training facility. Talk with us about this investment. I'm just going to kind of prime the pump here a little bit. When I was here yesterday, I saw some big pieces of equipment, which you might be able to see out there on camera. I don't know, but I asked, what was her name? The lady that was
Christina.
here? Christina. I asked Christina, I said, so this equipment, it's going to be here, when you guys aren't using it to make money on the jobs, because I can tell it's all brand new. And she said, no. This stuff stays here. Mm-hmm. And this is the Strack training facility. Why are you making this investment like this? Because this doesn't make you money tomorrow. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure to get to these chairs today, it costs you, these are some pretty expensive chairs.
Well, so at the end of the day, you want to give people good tools to work with. That's something Dad always taught us. And if you're going to train people, if you're going to build them up, you need to put them on the stuff they're going to be running tomorrow, not the stuff they were going to run yesterday. And this is just really trying to put our money where our mouth is and show we care. If you come here, we're going to give you a good tool. We're trying to train you and show you this is a career path, not just a job.
Yeah.
And, all this is really born out of a conversation we had probably about 30 months ago at this point. We were sitting down, had a lot of folks here. We had a set of core values that one of our longtime associates, Blakely Clark, helped Dad and I craft. And this is part of learning to talk about ourselves. Like, I didn't know how to do core values. I didn't know how to say all this. This is this really long burn knowledge that's kind of passed around, learned through a long period of time. And she said, all right, what do you think you stand for? And it was, you got some general stuff, but there's no catchy way to say it. And so she says, just tell your story. So Dad and I had this 2-hour conversation. It was awesome. He learned things about me. I learned things I never knew.
Wow.
Even about how we were founded. The whole company got founded because my grandfather took over payments on a dozer from his brother.
Wow.
And he just took a chance and moved down here from Wisconsin to, honor a debt that his brother helped put him in,
Wow.
And that's how the company started. And, the fifth runway for Hartsfield-Jackson sits on top of Dad's childhood home in our first office. And, it started from one guy living up to an obligation, like you say, struggling, doing something hard. Yeah. And
growing some oak.
So kind of weaving the tail a little more, we define our core values. We grow like crazy, are blessed and successful. But as you bring in a bunch of new folks on board, it's like, all right, we really got to go represent who we are, and recrafted those core values into what they are today. And while we did that, I'm like, what bugs us? Everybody's there together. We had, laborers, operators, supers, folks up to me, my level in the company, and it's all the same stuff. And what it comes back to is you feel like you're part parent and part employer, and it's societal. And, the problem starts way before you ever get somebody coming in your door. So, where we landed is we're going to try and grow great people that are then going to go on to be great workers.
Yeah.
And great employees and great coworkers, and become this work family and become part of Strack Nation. And, we birthed a 6-day, over 6-month training program. We call it Frontline Leadership Training.
I read a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. FLT is it's defining who we are, like where we came from, what our values are, and all of us that lead the business teach it. And we went from nothing to about 450 slides worth of content in six or 8 weeks. Wally with Firestarter Consultant, he helped us put it together, and Aron leads some of it. And, we do a piece where basically it's two halves of the coin. If you're going to go work on people, there's really a professional half and there's a personal half. So on the professional half, we'll take a job, we bid it, we schedule it, we do financials on it, we close it out, we talk about how we win work, we talk about equipment productivity. Like Aron and Anthony, they do a brilliant exercise on what's it cost to track the dozer to the Porta-John to the truck to get smokes, Mountain Dew, and snacks.
Yeah.
And it's an undercarriage. It's the entire cost of an undercarriage.
Yeah.
in a year if you're not careful. And then there's this other side. You know, we talk about generational leadership. We talk about we give everybody a DISC assessment. We talk about household budgeting because, you know, if your finances at home are a wreck, how are you going to, how can you be a good steward for dollars on the job? And, you know, at the end of the day, you're trying to show the folks you do care, you do want to grow them. And this is everybody really from a foreman or a lead man up to our level in the business. And it gives you some time to show you, hey, like, we're all working together. We all have some different roles, but it's that do your job team mentality. Whether you want to say it's, you know, Nick Saban, Bill Belichick,
Right.
whatever, Kirby Smart,
Yeah.
if you're the Bulldogs
Whoever
fan.
your favorite coach
Yeah,
is.
yeah, whoever it is, you know. It's
Doesn't
all,
make it not true.
Yeah. It's all building a team. And at the end of the day, it's an expensive, slow burn thing, but it's going to get you the best return, you know, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and you said something that I found really interesting, that your leadership teaches it.
mm-hmm.
I think that that's something in organizations that we have to remember is the importance of, you know, I started with a shovel in the ground too, and I went a different direction, but in the trades. But it's like I think it's a struggle for guys when they have to take their tool belt off or put the shovel in the truck or whatever it is to realize, well, what am I supposed to be doing? And sometimes we struggle with like this imposter syndrome of feeling like I'm not cut out for leading. I don't have anything to, and you talk about that your leaders teach that. I think that's something, and Aron, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I think that's something that the leaders of the company need to recognize that they need to do for the people that have the shovel in their hand.
It really just boils down to everyone is watching you. Everyone around you is paying attention. The younger they are, the more attention they're paying. The less,
That's true.
like the more open bandwidth they have to take it in as a sponge. And so it means so much to somebody coming into the company when they see Johnathan, one of the other executive team members, they stop by, say hello, introduce themselves, speak to them. That is huge. I mean, it's really huge. Beyond that, like when we go out and we're at a school or we're somewhere, you'd be amazed at the kids that really do want to pay attention just because you're giving them direct attention, good attention. You're giving them good advice. You're willing to help them, and you're not giving stuff away. It makes a difference. But that supercomputer in our pocket is doing a lot of teaching.
Yeah.
We need to be paying attention to, and we need to start looking younger than we are today. Mm-hmm. That's where all this future stuff comes from.
Well, don't you think that we just need to get comfortable with, like, in our industry, I think as tradespeople, we really struggle with talking about ourselves. Mm-hmm. And it gets really confusing. Like, I think sometimes people get confused about what humility and what being humble really is. It doesn't mean that you don't talk about what matters. You just do it in a humble way. I mean, Johnathan, if you could speak to that a little bit, just like, why does that matter so much, especially being someone who not only, there's a long history in your family about what we do, and I'm sure that there's a long struggle of not wanting to talk about things and come across as prideful, but yet it matters so much for people in leadership to be speaking, and like this is going to go out on the internet. I don't know if you guys realize that or not, but this is going out on the internet, and we intend to promote it on all of the platforms. Why is it that we need to be doing that as organizations? I mean, and I would even go as far as to, do you want your competitors to do it as well?
Yeah, at the end of the day, you know, you always want to speak from a point of truth. And if you're going to talk about yourself, if you're going to expose yourself, you really better be living those values. And
come on.
You also got to own the mistakes with it. And, yeah, we need the industry talking about ourselves, our industry, our craft more, but, you know, you got to be truthful about it because, you know, we've got really, really smart young folks watching us right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, if that's one thing the phone has, the modern smartphone has brought into their life is, man, you know, they can sniff out the BS in a hurry.
Yeah.
And if it's fake, if it's disingenuous, that nobody's going to get behind it. And we need as an industry, rising tide lifts all boats. And right now, if we're not going to talk about ourselves and we're not going to try and make things better, who is?
Come on.
I mean, it's only going to come from us. We've got to go advocate for, trades back in the schools, for training dollars, like all this. I mean, my hope is, the government gives away a pile of money to causes that we don't all agree with, but I think we can all agree with somehow, some way, if we could get some tax dollars to help make our own lives better here, train better workforce, all that comes back in the form of taxes at some point,
Even
one way or
veterans.
shape. You're more productive.
Yeah.
We need to look at ourselves
We do.
harder than ever right now, as a nation and as an industry, So, you may not agree with it, but, being apathetic about it and pissed off about what's going on in the world, it's like you talk about, there's good going on, and we got to shine light on it.
Absolutely.
There's plenty of bad, there's plenty of negative out there. You got to have something to combat the darkness.
Yeah.
You know?
I read a thing. Actually, I don't know if I read it or I listened to it, but it was talking about when you speak certain things, how it affects your brain and actually brings those things into reality.
Mm-hmm.
The more that you don't complain and you look at things with that glass half full mentality,
Mm-hmm.
and it actually brings those things to existence in your life, in what you're doing.
Will it?
Jordan Peterson says, I think you're going to hit whatever it is that you're aiming at. And if you're on a motorcycle or something, you're going down the road and you're like, oh, I focused on that rock there that I see. Well, sure enough, you're going to hit it. And it's like, well, so let's focus on the things that matter. And that's some of what we're looking at here. You guys have been focusing as a team, and you talk about this sparking 30 months ago. There's a lot going on here that happened in 30 months. And isn't it interesting how when we look back, what seems so long ago is actually really fast.
Oh, blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because you've been doing all the work.
June 16th last year. It's my birthday. It's also the same day as Tupac Shakur, so it's how I know that legends were born that day. But, so we were riding across this hillside right here where we're sitting. I'm pointing out, hey, boss, there's rock here. There's rock there. And he says, yeah, we'll blow it up. It's cool.
Come on.
And we're riding around, and I'm like, here we go. And it's taken every one of those days since then. There's been work put in on this place.
Yeah.
And some days I didn't think the day was going to end.
Yeah.
And a lot of other people didn't. They'd probably, if you asked them honestly, they'd probably tell you that I was a pain in their butt. But
I can see that.
But we're here.
Yeah. And I mean, we got a great team that helped do this, and we've never done this before. That's what I keep telling the whole company. We get together as a whole company 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Because if you don't choose to direct the narrative, it's going to get directed.
Boy, that's the truth.
And
that ties into the importance of why we need to talk about stuff. Because if we don't talk about it, somebody else will, and they might tell our story differently than what is the truth.
Yeah. And second hand becomes third hand, and then it gets awfully, no matter what, even if you're diligent about telling a story, you're not going to tell it 100% how it happened. So,
Exactly.
We're blessed. This has turned out the way it has, and I mean, it's born out of the effort of a great team. I mean, we did the ideas together, but executing it, I mean, everybody's brought their little piece to the table.
Absolutely.
And made it ours.
Well, when you make it ours, like you build it together, it's stronger than if you build it. Well, and that's, this is something that I say a lot. We actually can't build anything by ourselves.
No.
A Strack is a specialty trade contractor, meaning that you're not, you're part of a team of people to build infrastructure, buildings, all of that stuff. I'm an electrician by trade. Like, I'm not building the walls that I put wires in, and the building that is being built that I would be a part of, well, might have had some rock blasted by you guys. Like we all got to come together, and your team has done that. Aron, tell us a little bit about what's going to happen here, because there's a couple of different areas and different pieces of equipment. Tell us about the training facility and how it's going to function and what it's going to do.
Function today or function overall?
Well, personally, overall, I think is important.
Overall, where the beginning is just beginning with new hires as they come into the company. And one of the things that we've talked about is bringing people in. If you bring people into chaos, they're going to learn how to live in chaos. And the more chaos there is, the more money it's going to cost everybody. Whether I get a raise, whether I get new equipment, whether I get time off, or anybody else, that chaos is going to be what creates it. So bringing people in, trying to show them the structure of what Strack is about, explaining how we do how our day-to-day works, how our standard operating procedures are followed by our superintendents, by the leadership, what it takes to make all these things work, and then take a deep dive into what do you really know about equipment. Like, we hired you as an experienced employee. You have a skill that we expect you to have, and what are we going to dilute what we're trying to do with when you come in? Let's start there, and then you might have been hired for an excavator operator, and we don't think you're going to be able to perform at the level that will suit you or the company, so we're setting you up for failure off the rip, and ourselves. So we might move someone around, find another spot within the company that they can go to, have that conversation, because what skill or craft that you have is going to determine the level of pay that you receive. Once we get through that, then we, like, as our company in the 21st century, just about 99.9% of everything we do here is all digital. It's all on a tablet. It's all on a computer. We need to assess that. How much of that do you know? Then let's start helping you with that. I mean, I spend 2 to 4 hours every week with every group of new hires, just trying to, like, find clever ways to get somebody to admit what they do or don't know about their phone. And I don't really care, but I just need to know. Like, let's get through this. Let me help you. Is your phone up to date? Like, do you know where to go get the app? Do you understand case-sensitive passwords? I mean, and these are all highly intelligent people. They're building so many of our jobs, and it's like they don't want to admit what they don't understand. And, I mean, I spend time trying to, like, we don't go any further once we get to, like, hey, enter your username, stop. Everybody stop. Everybody. We're not going any further. Everybody's got their username, password. All right, everybody got their password. Everybody good? Next. Those type things. I mean, that's a complete change from this industry. That is no one that I've heard of in our area is doing that.
Yeah. Well, and that's some of what this facility is going to bring out in people.
I hope.
So, you know, I see what's some of the equipment that you actually have here, just for those that are listening so that they can know what it is that you're doing.
You've got a 340 excavator with a quick coupler attachment. You've got there's a D8, brand new D8 next gen down on the low boy. You've got a CP13 vibratory compactor, a D3 LGP with GNSS satellite precision. You've got a 725 articulated haul truck, 928 wheel loader. We've got behind me a boring setup to teach trenchless excavation.
I heard that's something that you guys do.
That is a huge part of our company.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge part of our company. And those guys, I'll be honest, I've only been at this company 2 years, and those guys, to me, are the heart of this company. Whenever I have questions that I can't get to someone like a Johnathan Strack, those are some of my guys. Those are my go-tos.
Yeah.
Those are who I like. I'm like, hey, man, I'm about to go down this road. What do you think? And they'll tell me.
You know, I think it's interesting. I did a little research before we sat down here this morning, and I know we already talked about this, but I almost feel like we can't talk about this enough, and the importance of talking about yourselves and getting out there on social media, because we don't like to do that.
No.
But I heard that social media actually turned into money for Strack in promoting other things that you guys were getting into, because people knew you as, you know, doing tunneling and things like that, but you started to get out there and promote, and then they're like, oh my goodness, you do this too.
Yeah. So, got to think about this for a minute. Sometime in 2016, we made a decision we were going to get in the grading business for a variety of reasons, but it was really born out of a promise I made to myself coming out of the recession. I said, I'm never going through this ever again. I'm never going to be caught with my pants down if I can help it. I always want to have a diverse book of business. You know, at the time the recession occurred, we did, you know, we were GC for a large Tier 1 railway. We did public pipe work, and probably 85% of our work was residential site work development, which everybody knows the housing market
kind of died.
Yeah, collapsed for 4 or 5 years. And, you know, still a substantial portion of our work is that, but, you know, in general, our work's busted into thirds now: public, private, and what I would call quasi-governmental, you know, work that's funded by entities that they may not be governmental, but they may be a railway. They may be, you know, at one point we were doing landfill work, you know, basic stuff that's not going to go away. And what we found is we started grading, you know, we had a lot of really good partners in business, and they saw, you know, employees started seeing what we were doing, allies, other places saw what we were doing, and then, you know, folks we had worked for saw it, and it really helped substantiate, you know, and validate what we were doing, because you could show it, you know, and that was not something I was used to, and particularly for recruitment. I mean, that's, you know, when I asked Aaron Witt when we were signing up for Build Wit training, yeah, I asked him, so like, where did this concept for Build Wit training come from? And he held up his phone and he says, well, you got to go to where your employees are. And he kind of shook the phone. He says, that's this. And I'm like,
boy, that's the truth.
You know, yeah, you got a lot of truth to that. And it's the same thing with us now. I mean, everybody wants to, you know what you're doing. Part of it is you want to be able to tell what you do at work. And a lot of people, this is a complicated industry to explain. Like, you go explain a tunneling job to your average person on the ground. Like, if I've got to go tell somebody that knows nothing, I'll say, hey, have you ever seen anything about the English Channel Tunnel or a subway tunnel, and you've seen this big complicated thing that's, you know, making this tunnel through the ground? That's what we do, just a little smaller and shorter, you know. And they're like, oh, okay, you know, and that's kind of, that's where you start.
Right.
But, you know, the public, they don't have any knowledge or appreciation of what we do. And, yeah, at some point, we got to go rebuild Eisenhower and Nixon era infrastructure. You know, the public's going to have to choose to spend
at some point
dollars.
We need to do that now.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's long overdue, but I mean, we built it off public funding dollars when the public appreciated not having good sanitation or good roads or any of that. So now that we've had that for a couple of generations, how else are we going to show some appreciation for it? It's either going to be through hard times due to neglect, or we've got to go educate.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and I think they're hungry for it. That's the other thing. You know, they say that Generation Z is the tool belt generation. And that's a shift. Like, there is a shift in the world right now of, I believe, people desiring this. And if in your business you're not promoting, you're not talking, you're going to miss it to the Stracks of the world, because you guys are. And so the eyes are there, and that's where the people are going to go. And the workforce is depleting at such a rate that if you're not doing that, like, honestly, your aspirations, while they might seem noble, there are some actual survival aspirations in what you're doing here.
Yeah.
Because you realize it is a must what you're doing here.
Well,
Yeah.
The generation that you're talking about, when all this stuff got built, that generation, they grew up learning how to fix things.
Yeah.
They didn't go, when you need a new car back then, you fixed what you had, or you went and found something sitting on blocks.
Yeah.
And figured out a way to barter for it, not pay for it. You trade something that you had that they wanted, and you fixed it.
Yeah.
And that's another, like, part of what Strack does is like a lot of our equipment. There's a brand new D8 sitting down there. We rebuild a lot of our equipment, and we even teach why we do that.
Yeah.
What we're looking for, what that cost means, how that relates down, because, you know, like people say, like watching your dollars. We need to be thinking about our pennies.
Yeah.
Like, it's in your pennies. It's not in your dollars.
It's the truth.
And that's where I like draw my inspiration from, not just ambition, but inspiration, because you can go to a school and feel like not one person there wanted anything to do with you other than the free stuff you were giving away.
Yeah.
And there's other times that you come away and you feel amazing. And
Yeah.
so we have to remember that.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to understand this.
No.
But
No.
that, you know, that generation, that's the one that I really look up to. That was the one that left such, you know, there's a lot of people that are in their 40s
Me
to
too.
50s.
Well, I think, you know, you and I, I'm thinking you might be a little older than him and I don't know. It's just a guess.
No, it's mileage, bud.
It's mileage.
No, it's mileage. I'm probably
I'm
younger.
actually older, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm older than him.
yeah, no.
Oh, well, now I feel bad. I judged you on, you know, camera. My
No,
goodness.
I'm 43.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Welcome to stress.
Yeah.
So,
Well-
so I had a lot more dark hair in my beard, and then when we started grading,
Yeah.
the year we did it was the second wettest year in the history of the state of Georgia.
Wow.
In the most weather sensitive part of construction. I was
Wow.
like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what did I do? You know, but everything turns out okay. You know, attitude, effort, faith. I mean, that
Yeah.
fixes a lot.
Well, and the importance of not quitting when things get hard.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's
yeah.
a big deal.
Oh man, that was the recession defined for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was every day you woke up was worse than the day before it, and you know, it's like living in a thunderstorm, right? You can either choose to worry about the lightning cracking around you, or you can choose not to listen to it and act like that thunderstorm's 10 miles away. It's coming. It's kind of always out there rumbling around.
Yeah.
It's just how you choose to acknowledge it, or if you choose to drive towards it, or run away with it and not deal with it. I mean, sometimes you got to go deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's anything in life. You're gonna struggle at it for a minute, but you know, at some point things get better. I mean, that's how.
As long as you
things
don't, as long as you don't quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
it. Yeah, because the one thing you can't run away from is yourself.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
the
at
truth.
the end of the day, I mean, that's the only thing you can't run away from in life is yourself. And if you let yourself down and don't have any self integrity, I mean, that
Yeah.
you're not gonna feel good about yourself.
A really intelligent man said once, I heard it, he says, there's 3 yous. There's the you show the people that know you. There's the you that you show people that don't know you. And there's the you that you don't show anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, who you want to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the best way that I could describe what I see you guys doing here, and this is a challenge. Like I want people watching to, you know, jealousy is a bad thing, but competitiveness is an okay thing. And I want there to be a little competition out there. And what you're doing, the best way that I can describe it here is when I was an apprentice, and you and I have talked about this, Aron. When I was an apprentice, there was a guy who said, "Go get me this." You know, and I didn't know that a wire stretcher wasn't real.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
And then there was a guy that said, "Here, come with me. And I'm going to show you what this tool is, and I'm going to show you how it works, and I'm going to teach you. And I'm going to take the time to do that." You guys are being that guy. And in the industry, that's who we need to be. When I say step up to the line, this is what I'm talking about. I'm saying put your money where your mouth is. And listen, here's the deal. It is good for you. If in your company you are starting to do this stuff, it's going to be hard. Everything that you've talked about came with hardship after you decided to do it.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like, hey, we have this great idea. Oh, there's rock. Well, if you would have stopped then, we wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, no, and to anybody listening, I mean, if you want to see what we're doing, come on. Like there's no secrets. I mean, that's the other thing we got to get over.
Yeah.
Jason Richmond and I had a podcast, and he talked about the learn and grow mentality or protect and defend.
Yeah, it's we're no better than anybody else, and at the end of the day, means and methods are pretty similar. Yeah, you may be a little better than another company at something, but really, your differentiating factor is, your people and your culture. And if you want to come see what we're doing, come on, because I can probably come learn from somebody else. And what we're looking for is like-minded peers, because if we're going to go do all of this as an industry ever, the missing component is values. You can't do it for shareholder value.
Come on.
You can't do it for a profit dollar. And if it's fake, like we talked about, the folks you're trying to get to the most actually believe in you, buy in it, and choose it as a career, they're not going to come here and they're not going to believe anything you're telling them.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking for, is like-minded companies, like-minded men and women, and let's somehow, hopefully in the future, figure out how to do this together.
Absolutely.
Because, it is a financial burden. And, if you work at a publicly traded company and listening to this, it's a hard sell. So my message is, my saying is little nibbles, not big bites. Start somewhere.
Yeah.
Do what you can, where you can, at your position, because courtesy, effort, and attitude, that doesn't cost anything, and that's entirely up to you.
Yeah. Well, it makes a difference for sure.
Yep.
So we've been sitting here for a while having this conversation. If you're watching us, you can notice because we're reaching around in these chairs. But there's a question that I like to ask that usually those who I ask do not like me to ask it.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about not quitting. We talked about how things are hard, the difference between pine and oak, the importance of highlighting and talking about what we do. At Blackline, our vision is to lift the view of the skilled trades. And to what Aron Witt said to you, it's like, well, if people's eyes are on their phones and we're not lifting the view of what we do that they can see it, there's nothing for them to see. That's why we need to get out there and we need to do that. And so to that end, one of the biggest things that I've learned throughout my career is from mistakes that I've made and mistakes that people were willing to share with me. I worked with journeymen I was really blessed, honestly, to work with journeymen who were able to be confident enough in who they were to be able to be like, Joshua, I did this and I did it wrong. This is where I messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know about it so that you don't do the same thing. To reveal how stupid I am, and this is important, some of the things that they shared those mistakes with me, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And then I went and did it myself because I was too dumb to listen. So I would just want to ask you, and Aron, you've already answered this on the podcast. I would encourage you, if you're listening and you want to hear that, that's one of the previous episodes of The Line. But Johnathan, for you, what is a mistake that you have made that you would be willing to share with those that they might be able to learn from it?
It's not one mistake. It's a long line of them, and it was a change in mentality for me. It really kind of twofold. In our industry, a lot of guys in this industry, guys and gals, they're going to connect with what I'm about to say. So when you're struggling on the job, in life, no matter what it is, our job, our general inclination is just kind of power on through it.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it. If somebody's not doing their part on the job, let's just work harder, go do it instead of talking to them. And I was as guilty of that as anybody else, 15, 20 years ago. And as I had to lead, as I had to help rebuild the company, coming out of the financial crisis, and throughout, having to lay folks off, you need to tell them what they're doing wrong, set some expectations, or else you're going to be the one that's frustrated all the time.
Yeah.
And, younger, thinking about, what motivated me, it was like, I've got to do this job no matter what. And, I've got guys out here that are just ticking me off all the time. You may run them off too quick. You may not give them a fair shake because they just don't understand, especially now, like, talent's so much more precious than it was 25 years ago. You better treat it right. And I think in general, learning that, and, and this comes with living more life, everybody's got crap going on in their life all the time. You just don't know what it is.
Well, that's the
And
truth.
you're no better than them, so it's better to act with a little grace and pay it forward and have some patience up front. That was my biggest. It's really twofold: impatience and not giving feedback when I should have. And
Impatience and not giving feedback when you should have.
yeah, because it's really a corporate culture thing. So there's a guy that coaches us, and he said, envision your company as a medieval army. And I said, okay. He says, now I don't like the first term. He says there's peasants, pages, knights, and mercenaries, right? And he says, I don't like peasant. I'm gonna say regular folks. That the peasant thing, it seems bad. So I'm gonna say regular folks. The folks coming into your organization, new hires, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of, or new to the industry. Maybe that's your low culture, low ability folks. Like they have never had a standard set. They don't know what you do. Then you got your pages. They're your shining stars. They're your young folks. That's the guy or gal that's got it.
Yeah.
So they're high culture. Abilities coming along. Your knights are the ones leading the organizations, right?
Yeah.
A lot of seasoning on them. High culture, high ability. But then there's the mercenary, which is high ability, low culture. Every company has them.
Yeah.
Everybody tries to make a compromise to say, hey, man, this guy or gal is so good. Man, I can't let him go. Wrong. Dead wrong. That's the trap in construction is putting up with bad behavior because of a lot of skill. And you can and you will survive without that person that is rotting you from the inside out as an organization.
He's standing on the shoulders of your pages.
Yeah, and you're setting a bad example because you're rewarding bad behavior. So if you're going to lead from a culture standpoint, it's got to come from a point of truth. And that's the other thing. If you're going to do this, if you're going to get behind these core values, you're going to make some hard choices, and you're going to be like, man, this is going to suck for a while, but you'll get through it because guess what? You got a great, highly motivated team to help you.
Yeah.
And don't do it by yourself. That's the last thing I'd say I had to learn was take keys off your key ring. Don't hold all the keys.
Yeah.
Give those keys away willingly because as long as you're defining what you want and your values to your folks, man, they half the time or better, they're going to do the job better than you did anyway.
Well, that's the truth.
Yeah.
They're going to be here longer than you too if you're younger.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that in multiple organizations, and that is the truth.
Yeah. So that's really have patience, give feedback.
Have patience and give feedback.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, it aligns with a lot of our conversation. We started off talking about hard conversations. We talked about the difference between, growing pine or growing oak.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about not quitting. One of my, I love this. I can't believe I'm going to say this on air, but I love poetry. And one of my favorite poems was written years and years ago, actually from a guy who lived through the Great Depression. His name was, I think it was Edgar Guest. And it was called Don't Quit. And the importance of not quitting and not giving up and what that is, we talked about that because it seems like any time that there's something with value and you make that first decision, we always think it's going to be easier in our mind than what it is in reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be harder than what you think. And so you need to commit to pushing all the way through it. And I think as we're closing here today, I would just like to say, because I've now revealed that I like poetry, there is a poem called The Man in the Arena. Mm-hmm. And there are some people that are going to be listening to this, and I encourage you to look it up. Teddy Roosevelt made this famous. I don't know if it's his poem, but he said it, and he talked about the man in the arena. That's who I'm talking to here today. You guys are in the arena, and the entire essence of the poem is that, listen, if you're not in the arena, keep your mouth shut. Mm-hmm. If you're not the guy doing the work, then don't give advice or critique. Actually, get your boots on, get in the dirt, and do the work.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know you're probably doing something right when fireballs and arrows are getting slung at you.
Boy, that's the truth.
Yeah, I mean that's in anything in life, you got to be confident if you're going to stand behind it. You know?
And you start to get, there's a lot, like, I was a mercenary
Yeah.
when I came here, to be honest. Like, my resume went further than 2 pages. So, I don't like to think of myself that way. Therefore, I'm going to work a heck of a lot harder
Yeah.
for that. And you start to find people that recognize that. And the further you get in this industry, the more you start to hear the same names
Yeah.
over and over again. Your reputation
Yeah.
begins to precede you. And there's some companies that are much older and much bigger than this one here that have a lot of great things. And we're here.
Yeah.
You got to go through Atlanta to just go just about anywhere. So give us a call.
That's true. I've seen the traffic.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, you know, I often am challenging people to step up to the line, and it's really cool to be sitting here with men that are challenging me to go farther and step up to the line even more. Mm-hmm. And that's what we want to do for the industry. We want to lift the view of the skilled trades, and that is everything from the dirt on the ground to the power that comes in and energizes the facilities that we build, because we want a better life for those that are coming after us. So I greatly appreciate you inviting us here to your grand opening here today of this training facility. I appreciate you putting your money where your mouth is. And the three of us here, Aron, Johnathan, and Joshua, if you're listening and you're in a company or you own a company, you said this, Johnathan, do what you can right now. Step up to the line right now to make a difference in your organization. And if your organization isn't on board, find someone that is.
Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of us out there looking for great talent
Yeah.
with great attitudes. And, you know, you don't have to go to work every day and hate it.
That's true.
You know, that's also your choice. That's the beauty of where we live. I mean, the country offers you plenty of opportunity. You may have to get uncomfortable and go meet new people and, you know, earn your reputation and stature again. But, man, it'll be way better with people that actually care about you and want to help you rather than tear you down.
Absolutely.
You know?
And if you listen to the experts built the Titanic. Who built the Ark?
Yeah.
I mean, who built the Ark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
the truth.
How much did that guy know?
Yeah.
That's the truth.
So, I mean, that's, you know, I tell my recruiting pitches when I ask people if they know who we are and they say no. I say, well, we're the reason the water comes out clean when you turn the faucet on.
Yeah,
and
that's
the
a good
toilet
line.
goes down when you flush it because we did our job right.
Yeah.
You know we did it right, and that's instant gratification if you're one of the people doing that.
Yeah.
It might sound dirty, and it is. And it might look hard, and it is. But it is instantly gratifying
Absolutely.
when you're a part of that.
Well, I was going to close with asking you what's the line that you would like to leave us with, and that's a good one.
That's all I got.
Johnathan, what's the line you'd like to leave people with as we leave today?
All of this, it doesn't matter if you talk about the workplace, local government, national government, your family, everything's built on a foundation of trust and care. Like,
Yeah.
everywhere you go in life, whatever you do your best to treat people right and do the right thing, and things usually work out. And, you know, that's not a popular concept in today's society. You know, hard work and effort is not looked well upon, you know, and these things don't happen fast. Like, hey,
Right.
things go good for a while. Things may go bad for a little while. Like, if things are going bad in your life, man, it may not turn around next week.
Right.
But if you get up, smile, try hard, and put your best effort in, you'll probably find, no matter what it is, whether you're trying to turn your company around, build a good team, repair your marriage, whatever it is, things will get better. Or if they don't, you've made your best effort. And then there may be another path in life you need to take, you know, but you've been true to yourself, and that's, you know, act in a manner of truth in anything you do.
The sun's coming up whether you want it to or not.
Yeah.
It's up to you to decide. Like, I can't control what anybody anybody around me does. It's up to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Own your own actions.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's why I say I'm living the dream. Anyone that knows me and asks what I'm doing, I'm living the dream. So, come from a sandbox that was like the size of a pickup truck to a sandbox that's 8 acres.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's
we're
what it
growing.
is.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for inviting me to the arena.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I like being in the dirt with you.
All right. Thanks for
All
having
right.
us.
We're
Thank
out.
you.
All right.
Sorry to make you sit in a chair so long.
No, it's all right.
Next time I'll take a recliner.
Lazy boy.